Hello, Aries, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of June 21st through the 27th. And during that time, we have the first quarter moon that comes in on the 23rd, and that's a time when you might feel a little impulsive or impatient. I tried to make that one word, impulsient. Anyway, your mind might be a little bit active. I see it as kind of like the full moon energy, but it's just a little, maybe even just a couple of hours that day for that. But you might just be a little resistant to getting things done or frustrated. So take that into account for that day on the 23rd, and just give yourself a little bit of grace. Take some deep breaths. Maybe plan on doing some meditation. But it's a good time for us to try to control those impulses and those feelings that we have. So just remember that. We then have the waning gibbous for the rest of the week. And that is a time for a deeper understanding and outlook, a good time for us to act on those things that we started during the new moon. So we're making plans and preparing things, but we're also starting to take those first few steps and just show that we can be flexible in the plans that we've made. So please keep those moon energies in mind. We do have the solstice too this week, so pay attention to that if it's something that you celebrate, or look around to see if there's any celebrations in your area where you might participate in that, because that can be a lot of fun. So please keep those moon energies and sun this week in mind as you're moving through your week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Aries. So as always, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't here on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading is don't let your past hold you back. Okay, that's good advice for any of us, right? And as I'm shuffling the tarot today, my fun weekly reminder for you is that you keep a spiritual journal. So sometimes we don't recognize the things that are happening, maybe the patterns that are developing in our spiritual life as we're kind of going along, but it's good to jot those things down in a journal, things that you're learning, maybe synchronicities that you're having, just messages that are coming in. This could be like, spirit animals that get in front of you. This could be repeating number patterns, that sort of thing, and what those angel numbers mean. But jot those things down, even dreams that you're having. Journaling those dreams. And actually, I'm trying to journal more of mine, but it's so difficult for me to do. I just forget them. They say to hold still when you wake up, so that you don't change your body chemistry. And I just can't. I just get up and go. So it's really hard for me to just lay there and keep my chemistry the same. Anyway, so I do remember the big significant dreams, but we're supposed to journal so that we can remember more and more and more of this. So I don't know if you have any advice on that front for me, drop it in the comments. But anyway, keep a spiritual journal when it comes to those things, because it's good to have to look back on later and think, oh, I learned this thing and I applied it. And then you can think, oh, that's changed my life in this way. Or I learned this thing and I forgot to apply it. Let's get on that. So that is just my fun weekly reminder for you, Aries. So, all right, let's get right into this reading. June 21st through the 27th. Don't let your past hold you back. Your present energy is the World card. So there you sit in perfect balance. You could be at the end of something. This is the very last card in the major arcana. But it's a card of just balance. It's a card of discovery and harmony. It's a card of, things like your dreams coming true. It's the acceptance of how things are. It's worldly success. Just it's the world. It's just everything around you, right? But it is a card of fulfillment. So you might be, at the end of some journey and thinking about the next step that you might want to take. Again, don't let your past hold you back. It looks like you're in a good place and there's a lot of balance and harmony for you right now. So let's see where this might go. Your current situation is the Hierophant. Maybe your world is that you are having some sort of spiritual awakening, and that's why you're at this tarot reading. The Hierophant card is about guidance. It's about seeking out other information when it comes to your spiritual life. For some of you, this would be a more conforming card where you might go back to church, more traditional things. For others, you might be listening to tarot readings or going down that path. It just really depends on where you are, what kind of dedication you're giving to this, what sort of rituals that you want to be involved with. So So that's probably why, again, that's why you're at a tarot reading. Maybe and hello, welcome. I'm glad it's a track you're going down. It's obviously a path that I've gone down myself. So I understand where you are. Sometimes these readings can resonate to the point where your mind is blown. I've had my mind blown by other readers. And sometimes not. So just keep that in mind and find someone, hopefully it's me that you're comfortable with and who's resonating with you, but do seek out other readers as well. There's so many amazing readers out there in the world, and get live readings as well. All right, at the root of your situation is a little bit of rest and meditation. Probably, with this Four of Swords, this is about just taking that time. And sometimes when you do come to the end of a path, or if you have some sort of awakening, you definitely have to stop and just assess things and think about, where am I headed? And sometimes that is about meditation. Maybe you don't know where you're headed, and that's okay too. And that's also, I was talking about a spiritual journal. Start writing these things down, write these thoughts down, write these things that you're learning, write all of those things down, and it will come in handy. You'll understand this later, but you'll look back and think, oh wow, that's where I was. And I remember these moments of, starting to seek some extras, seeking out different knowledge. You're going to find that books fall into your lap, and speakers get in front of you, and you just start putting some things together. So journaling all of that, it is very interesting to look back on later. All right, in your recent past is the Fool card, which I'm not shocked to see him there. You're on this new journey. I love how all of these cards are coming out. Actually, now that we have three major arcana, this is a major change for the Aries collective right now. Anytime I have three or more major arcana, sometimes tarot readings happen in a week. Life doesn't happen in a week, obviously. So these are just little chunks of energy that you're going through. But these things that are happening happen in bigger time frames. Sometimes the spiritual awakening can take years to unfold. So, but the fact that this is three major arcana tells me that this is a major turning point, major thing that you're learning right now and going through. Sometimes readings are very um, there's just not a lot going on. Some weeks are like that, which is nice. But right now you're on a new path. You're discovering new things about the world. You're in balance and you're really enjoying this path. You're taking that time to rest and meditate, but you're also seeking out this new information. All right, what is on your mind this week is the Sun card with another major arcana. And maybe you're asking yourself that question, how can I be happier? We're all, I hope, asking that question, how can I be happier? And sometimes it's just your day to day. Sometimes you take a look at things. I like to look at how I spend my day and what things I'm doing, what things make me happy throughout my day. Doing this thing makes me happy, doing this thing maybe not. And you try to adjust those things so that most of your days are very balanced and happy and as much as you can be. We're all not going to be happy 24/7, and there's things that happen in life. Of course, we're going to have to deal with those things that come up, but in general. So asking those questions, when you're having a spiritual awakening, it's about asking those questions and, well, what am I supposed to be doing, with my time here? So, and what do they say? They say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. There's still things that you have to do, but I feel like you do after an awakening. After an awakening, you find that chopping that wood takes on more meaning, and it takes on I don't know. There's just something about the day-to-day things that we all have to do that does take on a little bit more meaning and a little joy. You can find joy in doing those things. What is just ahead of you this week is the Queen of Cups. So this is you being very, not only emotionally balanced in your own world and understanding your emotions and why you're feeling certain things and kind of making those connections, but anytime it's royalty, the royals can look around at their constituents too and kind of start to see the motivations of this person over here. It's like, oh, okay, I see, because you're understanding yourself, it makes you understand the world a little bit more. So that is ahead of you for this week. In your advice position this week is the Six of Pentacles. So maybe you are learning how to give, how to receive. And maybe you're learning that giving comes back to you tenfold. It's the most amazing thing. I mean, I feel like we all know that saying, it's out there, but until you start putting it into use, and it doesn't just mean, the monetary giving, but it's the giving of your time. And when you give that time comes back to you. When you give love, that love comes back to you. When you give money, that money also comes back to you. So it looks like, the advice is this week to focus on giving and focus on also receiving. Receiving with grace is also a thing. We don't really talk about that either, but things that other people, recognize the time that someone else is giving you. Recognize the love that they're giving you, and help them receive it tenfold back the other direction as well. All right, what is beyond your control this week? By the way, I love this reading. Okay, another six here with the Six of Wands. So this is about a little bit of recognition that there's someone around you, and probably more than one person, who's like, "Hey, I see where you are. I see you, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're going through right now." So look around for that kind of support. Also, look up angel number 66, because we've got two sixes there on the table. What is your secret desire, or what are you trying to avoid, is a new perspective. Is this your secret desire? I certainly hope so. I mean, I don't think any of us are trying to avoid having a new perspective, a new look, a new outlook on things. But this Hanged Man, I mean, here we are with, now we've got one, two, three, four, five major arcana cards. That's just amazing. I love this reading. There's nothing about this reading. And don't let your past hold you back. Do you have some feelings about these sorts of things that were in your past, that, maybe there's a prejudice there, or something to some things that you're experiencing right now? And if that's the case, maybe be a little bit open minded for that new perspective, to be able to look around and say, okay, and I have these things as well. The things that you're like, I know years ago, there's certain things that I would have been like, oh yeah, that's really a real thing. And now I'm a little more open to it. And it's things that might be, seem a little woo woo, or a little bit out there. And I tend to be very, very logical. I mean, I'm emotional as well too, but I do tend to have that little logical edge that it makes me hard to believe something unless I've really experienced it myself. So maybe that's the new take on it. You're going to look at things with a new perspective, because you've had some sort of experience, some sort of awakening, that that it is what it is. You can't deny it. So I think that's very interesting. Let's see what's in your outcome position. Is the Seven of Cups. So lots of different choices and lots of different paths to take. So, the Seven of Cups is really about reminding you just to choose wisely, to choose things that are going to, be in line with maybe this new path that you're heading down. You're doing this rest and meditation to try to figure out, okay, what do I, and it seems like a lot. And again, I'm going to go back to doing the journal. If you're going through this, it's really good to journal these things, because it can kind of rein in your focus a little bit, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling, oh my gosh, I want to learn everything right now. Well, you can't do that. We only get so much time in a day, but just start to like hone that focus in. And that's probably about these choices. Even if it's making a list, like just sit down and make a list. Here's all the things I want to know, I want to learn about. And I always talk about how the new moon is like a New Year's. It's like, you make 20 resolutions for New Year's, and by February we're all, we've accomplished one or none of them. But the new moon, every cycle that we have is almost like a new year, where you can, or a new month, new cycle, that take one thing, just one big thing, and change that, whether it's a habit you want to change, or whether it's something you want to learn, or something you want to learn how to practice that month. So, see that new moon and gather that information, so that when the new moon is coming around, you already have done the work of having a list of like, oh, here was the thing I wanted to learn. So, again, this is why journaling can be very important, to just remember those things if there's a lot going on for you. So, what is hidden from you here, Aries, at the bottom of the deck, is the King of Pentacles. So, the King of Pentacles is knowledge about the material world and the financial world. And that doesn't look like to be really on your forefront this week. I mean, we're learning about giving and receiving. And this could be where maybe your job is going just fine, and it's taking a back seat. Not that it's not something that you have to participate in and do every day, and do the work that you've been doing and do good work there, but it's not the forefront. And maybe that's been your life so far. Maybe you've been like work, 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 work. You have this awakening, and now it's like, oh, there are other things besides work. So Aries, I love this reading for you. We're gonna wrap it up here with a soul oracle card, but I just love how all of your cards are out. You're on this new path, you're seeking guidance, You're very emotionally stable. You're resting, you're meditating. Your happiness is really at the forefront of your mind. You're learning to give and receive. You are, you're being recognized by the people around you that you're doing a great job. You've got a new perspective and you've got choices to make. So I love this reading. I really do. Let's get you a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck as you're going through this. Final message for Aries is reevaluate your priorities. Wow. I was telling you about that work card being hidden from you. And some people, especially, Aries, you guys do tend to be highly competitive and work is a part of that. So I would imagine many of you, if you're having some sort of awakening, you are like, wow, all of my time and energy has been, with work and learning how to do these things and accomplishing things and being a go-getter. And you can still do those things, but this is taking the other time that you have during your day. It's reevaluating your priorities so that your life is taking on more meaning in the spiritual realm. So, all right, what do you need to do in the way of self-care? Self-care for Aries this week as they are working on these spiritual things. Self-care for Aries. And the card that you get is the card called Needs. Do you need more time to yourself? A break from thinking too much? A kind encounter with a friend? Your needs matter and it's time to honor them. Reevaluate your priorities. Don't let your past hold you back. Reevaluate your needs. What is it that you need? It's just such, this reading cannot be any more plain. I'm not confused. If you are, of course, I'll answer your questions. Drop them in the comments down below. Also, if this is resonating with you, leave me a comment. Let me know, what is it that you're going through? What was this awakening for you? I'm fascinated by this. We've all been there, and it's just fun to share that information. So, Aries, thank you so much for being here. Again, if you like my reading style, hitting like and subscribe is awesome, or leave me a comment. Either is fine. It just helps my channel so much, and I appreciate that. I want to wish you the best of luck with this, and come on back next week, and let's see where this energy goes. So, thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.